Apologies for my voice. I think it's going to get better as we go. Pojo, wabanin ongo kwain desnikas, wabazeshi and dodam, and ishnave kwain dao, bawating and donjaba. I think it will. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be here in this theater, even though we're missing something very important. But just the rising of it, don't worry. When you leave here, you'll still be able to see it. It wasn't lost on me when I looked at the date and then started to prepare for this talk that we're actually here on the full moon. But not just any full moon. She's the biggest supermoon of the year. And she's going to come closer to the earth that she'll be all year round. And I'm referring to her as just that, as a her, because that's how I was raised to see her. And everything I know about who I am as a Anishinaabe, as a woman, comes from a relationship cultivated with her. And that comes from being raised by incredible matriarchs who fought hard to keep the traditions of Anishinaabe people, who fought hard against all odds to find women's teachings and to lift up what we have always known, is that women, the carriers of life, are sacred and protectors and should be cared for. Yeah, you can clap for that. I'm okay with that. Every time you clap, I get to breathe, so let's do it together, all right? We got 7 minutes. We can do it. I got a giant pink Yeti. We're going to make it through. Color coordinated, of course. I'm really grateful because I was raised around women who bled. Maybe it's because I was raised by a single mom, but it was never something to be ashamed of. I knew all of my young childhood that one day that would happen to me. I'm grateful because I'm the youngest of 3 girls. The youngest by 15 years to my big sister and 5 years to my middle sister, so that might have also helped out. But I remember so vividly the day that my middle sister, she doesn't like that, she likes me to call her my big sister, Shannon. I remember when she got her first moon time. And that's what we call it because it literally matches up with the moon. We've lost that cycle now, but I believe that when we all are together in the same space, and some medical experts will say it's not real, but I can tell you from my personal experience, when you're fasting and in ceremony with women, you sink. And when you're on the land and harvesting and you're with women, you sink. So maybe the medical experts need to spend more time on the land. But the moon and the water and our cycle, that's your moon time. And the water, this earth, she's also affected by the moon time, right? Just as life itself is carried in water, this interconnected relationship, that is what bleeding is. It's not just a period. It's not something at the end of the sentence. It's the essence of life. 1 second. They'll cut this out on the live stream, right? This is proof that you need to hire more speakers for September 30th also. I can't all do, all 5 of us can't do everything. Side note, just an issue I'll bring it up here. Thank you, Walrus. Okay. But I remember so vividly the day that my sister came on her moon time because it was surrounded in ceremony. When your grandma visits you, you spend 7 days in isolation and you fast. And women come and visit you and they tell you stories of what it was like for them. And in these moments, you also get prepared for all the things that you might encounter. You are told how to take care of your body, how to protect your body, how to keep yourself and your spirit safe. You're told about what it means to carry life and to care for life. And so you will always know exactly what's happening in your body. And you'll know how you are interconnected to your own community. Now I'm making it sound all romantic. On the time, I thought that it was absolutely wild that my sister was like, you're supposed to build a lodge and go outside into the woods, but we live in a townhouse with native housing. So my mom just like stapled some sheets up onto the wall, and she was supposed to be in there, and we're not supposed to talk to her, but my mom worked full-time job, single mom, and my sister would like open the door and she'd be like, I'm starving. Mom's starving me. You have to get me some food. And I was so conflicted because I had these teachings, but may or may not have always slipped or something, but it was beautiful because when my grandmother came to visit me for the first time, it was February 17th. And I remember because it was my niece's birthday. So that meant we were all going out for a family dinner. But we were late because Grandma came. So my mom waited for me. We did a little ceremony. My sister was the one who really helped me. It's funny because I was actually wearing... These ones are Nick's, but they're leak-proof. But I was actually wearing tights. And it was interesting when I put these tights on, I had a visceral memory of what it was like to bleed into my tights for the first time. And I'm just going to be honest and upfront because we don't talk like this enough. We can't talk about menopause without talking about just the simple realities as they are. Well, we went to the restaurant, and my mom announced it to everyone. I was mortified, but I went with it. But that's interesting because I was 13 years old when that happened. Just a few years before that, my mom lost her own mother. And it's only through conversations with my mom recently and motivated by the campaign I did with Next and being around other women in perimenopause and a very good friend of mine almost losing her life from the depression that came from her experience in perimenopause. I started to have these conversations and I realized that when my mom lost her mom, she was also in perimenopause. And what we witnessed and experienced of how she had to hold herself while working and being the sole provider, while grieving her mother, and while raising probably some very difficult girls. It made me encounter that experience and think of where I am right now as a woman in an entirely different way. It also made me think of how I experienced my mother always lifting this moment up. And I'm not sure anyone lifted her up in that same way. And we have all these beautiful teachings, and I know that my mom was uplifted and carried by those. Teachings of what it means to become a matriarch, a grandmother. Teachings of what it means to not sit with your grandmother anymore, which is what your period is. She comes and visits you once a month to remind you of how life has always carried on. And then all of a sudden, you become the grandmother, and she doesn't need to sit with you anymore. And just like you would do that with your own children or grandchildren, you lose one thing, but you gain something profound. And perhaps just like the full moon tonight, she's the grandest, biggest, fullest of herself. That's how we become. But I only have the footsteps of my ancestors to follow, and so I'm looking for the songs and the dances and the late night stories that will creep from sunset to sunrise into the daylight of our lives, where we will all share together in the open and learn those dances and songs together. Thank you.